Okay, class, in this video we're going to take a look at the abdominal, arterial, and venous systems. And I would like to point out that this cat was very well dissected by Khalil and Max, so give them a little credit for the work that they've done, and they'll get to live on in infamy in this video. So, while the contrast of this specimen isn't great, the colors are a little dark. I'll try and draw things out as best I can and zoom in as much as possible throughout. And through the video, I'm actually going to be identifying quite a few structures that may not be on your list, but because I have such a good specimen here that are, we have some things that I normally don't see students identify, I'm going to make sure I point them out. So as you're studying and going through your list, make sure that you are picking out the ones that you do need to know. So, as we know, coming off of the heart, we have the aorta. Up here at the top, or to the left of your screen, there's the aorta with the branches going up to the head and to the forelimbs. Any blood that doesn't go there is going to continue down the aorta. This is the descending aorta. It's going to pass behind the diaphragm. And once it reaches that point, it is now the abdominal aorta. And as you go through the abdominal area, you're going to find a lot of branches. So this is going to supply blood flow to all of the abdominal contents, all the major organs. So your first branch is going to be the celiac trunk. It comes off of right here. There's another branch below it. We'll get to that in a moment. Your celiac trunk is actually going to split a couple of different ways. It is going to go off, you can see right here, if I can pull it out a little bit better. This is your gastric artery, and it goes right off to the stomach. Deeper in there, which is not easily identifiable, is the hepatic artery that goes to the liver. And then you also have the splenic artery, which goes off to the spleen. And you can see that right here, heading out here to the spleen. All right. Just below the celiac trunk, we have the superior mesenteric artery. Superior mesenteric artery is going to go to the mesentery, and it comes from above. As we continue down, your next branch is actually going to be underneath a vein, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But if we were to flip this over, this is the kidney, so you can see that this has been pulled out from the abdominal wall. And if we were actually to flip it over, you will see very well the renal artery. So the renal artery comes off of that aorta, goes into the kidney, gets filtered out, comes back out through the renal vein. So we'll flip it back over, and here is your renal vein. Renal vein is fairly easy to find. It's a little bit bigger and usually filled with latex a little better. Once that blood is filtered, we now have produced urine, and urine is going to pass through the ureter, and the ureter here has been pulled out from the membranes that it was encased in, and if you follow it down, it actually go down to the bladder, and this cat actually has a fairly small bladder that sits right in front. Okay, and then as we go down a little further, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, get another view of it as we get through our review here. So, as we continue down the abdominal aorta, then we have the inferior mesenteric, and you'll see that it goes off to large intestine. All right, and then we have a couple of branches, our last branches, off of the abdominal aorta before it splits. These are the iliolumbar arteries. We'll see a split here as it heads down to the leg. We have the external, so I'll get this out of the way, get my spear out of the way, and you can see a fairly good split, and there's one that goes down the middle and then it splits again. So these are going to be our external iliac arteries and our internal iliac arteries. All right. If we continue those further down, they actually are going to go down the leg. In this specimen, they have been cut, but you can see right, move down a little bit, right down here, the remaining parts of them. So there is the femoral artery, the femoral vein that run down the leg. and supply the leg with blood flow. As the blood comes back, it will come back through the femoral vein. It will come back through here. You have your external iliac, and once these two combine, if I get that out of the way, you can actually see our branches here. Those two are going to combine to form the inferior vena cava. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that in the upper portion of the abdominal area, the inferior vena cava sits on top. And then as you get further down, they sort of rotate on top of each other. So you have, I'll use my forceps as an example here, you have the inferior vena cava on top, and then as they go through the abdominal area, they're going to rotate, and your aorta is going to be on top, as you see right here. Okay, this is going to come back up. Blood flow is going to then be collected from your iliolumbar veins. You're going to get them coming back from the renal veins. The other ones are not well identified in this particular specimen, but they will be bringing blood flow back, and all of it's joining back into the inferior vena cava that will then pass through the diaphragm. Move up here a little bit, back to the heart. See if we have a good example. I'll move the diaphragm out of the way, the lobe of the lung, and the inferior vena cava sits right here as it brings all of that blood flow back to the heart. So again, quick review: aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta. We go down past the diaphragm. We have the celiac trunk, superior mesenteric, the renal artery, the inferior mesenteric, our iliolumbar, and then our external and internal iliacs feeding into, external is going to feed into the femoral artery down here in the leg. Then coming back, femoral vein comes back and combines into the inferior vena cava. We have the iliolumbars joining. We have the renal coming back in as well as it feeds back up to the heart.